So what's our first stop? Actually, that's gonna make a lot of noise starting up. That's the ones that in our town don't do that. The MotorEV, the subscription rental, on the first long road trip. Honestly, it was super easy. The car basically tells you what to do. We are at a Subway in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, coming down from Indiana to Florida. And we got about 140, 150 miles before the car said this was your first stop. On the percentage of battery, it was like 38-40% left. But the idea is that you stop, get a quick charge, and then you make it to your next one. You're not really supposed to go all the way to empty like you normally would in a gas car. We are just finishing up. We have 5 more minutes left. Some things that I loved on the way down. It definitely has a great ride. It was very smooth, lots of room. I packed this thing to the gills. We are obviously going down to Florida for an entire week, so lots of totes, lots of bags, a set of golf clubs, as you could see, just tons of stuff, and we filled it all the way to the max. Also, just the ride quality was great. Like, it was a very comfortable ride, a very smooth ride. You kind of let the car do most of the work, which is great. Feeling safe as well. You know, I think a lot of people assume, well, this is the car that drives itself. And although that is the case, you do feel like there are times where you should probably be in control. Construction zones, things like that. Here's the one thing that just has absolutely floored me. We have been here for 15 minutes, so 20-minute total charge, and it's packed. Another vehicle is just pulling in, and I always want to watch the time because I want to obviously get off of the charger when we don't need it, which will be shortly and soon. And someone found the cinematic mode on the iPhone, so that's going to look a little bit different as we go through this trip. But we're excited for our second leg. This one will get us, I believe, through Tennessee, through Nashville. A few more supercharging stops before we reach our hotel for the night. So leg 2 of our trip, we're in Brentwood, Tennessee, and this is the second time that I've been to a supercharger that was connected to a Target. And I'm with the family, so that means it might be a little bit longer than a normal supercharging stop. It could be an issue. But anyways, we are here in Brentwood, Tennessee, second leg of the journey. Very interesting. I'm gonna pop in the car. It's a little noisy out here. I'm gonna pop in the car and tell you some things that we learned. There were 3 things that I'd like to put on my list for that leg. Okay, so 3 things. This was the first time we had ever driven through rain or any storm in this vehicle. So it was really interesting. The wipers was something that I definitely hadn't figured out quite yet. There were a few times I think I tried to turn the wipers off, didn't realize you could not do that in autopilot, and then they would run far too frequently than they needed to be running. So that was a little bit frustrating through our first kind of rainstorm with the vehicle. So number 1, wipers, but we did figure it out. I think found a good mix between when it should be on, when it should be off. I'm a huge believer in Rain-X, so we use Rain-X on the front windshield, and I'm like, I just want the Rain-X to do its job, and I don't really want these wipers running, but I also love the convenience and safety of having autopilot on. So a little bit of an internal struggle when it came to driving this vehicle kind of through the mountains and hills of Tennessee while the storms were rolling in. Number 2, I hit green for the very first time in a road trip. So being able to put some energy back into the vehicle and not constantly consuming energy was pretty interesting. We were going through some construction. I was trying to be very efficient, trying to use that regen as much as possible. So being able to see that on the efficiency gauge was super cool. The third and final thing was that the Tesla was trying to navigate us to a supercharger that was probably 10-20 minutes out of the way on the way to Nashville, which was kind of interesting. And thanks to a number of tips from about 6 YouTubers that I consistently watch, and I'll put their channels down below if you want, like Bearded Tesla Guy, Ryan Shaw, some of the guys that just go through a lot of these settings and kind of show you things and tips and tricks on long road trips. The app A Better Trip Planner in this Tesla helped me kind of figure out, I was like, well, that's kind of out of the way. That's interesting, because it was taking us to Brentwood, Tennessee, and then now it's not. It wants to route us to another supercharger in Nashville. So kind of looking at the app, it's like, no, you're going to Brentwood. So I was able to kind of cancel that navigation route in the system, say, hey, just go directly to Brentwood, because this Better Trip Planner is kind of calculating all of the things in the background for me, almost in a way that's a little bit more efficient than the Tesla was. So that was like the first kind of, oh, hey, we got you over here, not necessarily on the infotainment, but the app was like, yes, you definitely want to go to the Brentwood one. We have a 30-minute stop here, it looks like, but the charge limit was set to 80%. I wanted it to go to 90, so we'll see how that kind of all works out. I'm ready for leg 3. This is honestly the trip. It has not felt like a road trip to Florida. Like, I'm not bored. There's lots of things to keep me busy, and my attention and my like, oh, that's neat and that's interesting. I'm sure that will all wear off. Being able to kind of look at and play a little efficiency game, right? I'm gonna ride the regen a little bit longer here, or I'm gonna take it off autopilot and maybe ride the brake downhill. So just to gain some of that energy back. So all of that little fun personal achievement stuff kind of has gained enough interest for me that I'm not like super bored on this trip. All right, that was fast. Leg 3 coming up. Apparently we could make it all the way to our destination, but we'd have to go 65 miles an hour, which I ain't gonna do that. Also, nicest porta potties I've ever been into. So the final leg is finished, and we made it to our final destination, Birmingham, Alabama, and we're just south of Birmingham, staying in a hotel here, kind of not a halfway mark, but enough to wake up in the morning and kind of, get us the rest of the way. That last leg was tricky because we had it. I don't want to use the term splash and go because that's not a thing anymore, especially with electric vehicles. So we'll just call it a jolt and go. We actually stopped for 3 to 5 minutes to basically just put enough percentage in the vehicle to get us the rest of the way. It was very, very quick. I probably waited a little longer knowing what we had left. All uphill, I think, from that duration on that final leg, because I kept checking the range. I kept checking the trip to make sure, okay, are we gonna make it? All right, we're gonna get it with 20% left. And I had to drive another 11 miles to a supercharger because there weren't a lot of stations nearby. That's something I've learned from this trip, that next time I book a hotel, probably will try to book one with either a charger at the hotel location or one nearby. My wife's actually timing a lot of these. I think she had just over an hour, like an hour and a minute, essentially of total stoppage time from the time we stopped and charged and had a meal, or stopped and charged and kind of stretched our legs. So total extra time was about an hour total, which isn't bad considering we have a 7-year-old. We're gonna stop, right? With kids, that's just gonna happen. We're gonna spend the night. We're gonna wake up the next morning. We're gonna have a full tank. Hopefully here, I'm gonna try to charge it to 90%. I've got 30 minutes remaining. I pulled in with 40 miles left. I'm gonna be really honest though. I do believe that this MotorEV, the Tesla that we're renting for the month, I do believe there's some battery there's some battery loss that has happened. Every time I try to charge it to 90% or to 100%, it is well under what I would assume that number to be. Nowhere near, what Tesla says is a Model Y long range, 330 or whatever it says. This one is well below that. I knew that it wouldn't be exactly 330. I was hoping to be over 300. Everything has been far less on those ranges, especially if I get it to the full 100%. I think it's like 290, probably losing some mileage with that battery loss, the annual battery loss. And I'm assuming with it being a rental, people are charging it to 100% consistently. You're getting a little bit of battery loss. As far as costs go, the cost cost breakdown, honestly, we're looking at, you know, it was $14 the first time, $14.50 the second time, so about 28 bucks. I think that third quick charge was $6 or $7. I'll have to go back and look. This one, obviously, trying to get it all the way to 100, probably going to be a little bit longer, but this one will probably be a little bit more expensive. Lots of notifications coming through because I'm on a road trip and I haven't been on my phone all day, and this is a chance to kind of sit and decompress, but it was fantastic. It was fun. This car is everything that I thought it would be. I am absolutely in love. I can't wait till ours come in. They did move our window up for our Tesla Model Y to November. So fingers crossed that continues to get moved up and we get it a little sooner than we anticipated. Tomorrow's gonna be the true test. We have essentially from Birmingham, Alabama to St. George Island, Florida, another 6 hours or so. And I'm curious because there aren't a whole lot of things between kind of that last stop before you make the turn down towards the island on the Panhandle. There is one thing that I will tell you before I end this video, is something that we didn't do at all on the way down, which was look at gas prices and be like, oh, it was 10 cents cheaper if we only drove 5 more minutes. It was cool not to think about that, not to have the disappointment after 5 or 6 miles to be like, oh man, we could have stopped. It was 5 more miles. We could have saved 10 cents and 12-gallon tank. Well, we only would have saved $1.20. Tomorrow will be a new day on Small Indiana Adventure with new experiences.